Good evening, and welcome to this special report. We begin tonight with breaking news of absolute devastation out of Southeast Asia. A massive and catastrophic 7.7 magnitude earthquake has struck the eastern islands of Indonesia, sending violent shockwaves across the region, triggering widespread panic, and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Tonight, millions of people are sleeping outdoors in the dark, terrified of relentless aftershocks, as search and rescue teams desperately try to reach remote communities that have been completely cut off from the rest of the world. Here is everything we know right now about this unfolding tragedy.
Lord! Tago! Lord, tama na, Lord! Lord!
Part 1. The initial strike. The nightmare began just before dawn. At exactly 5:58 a.m. local time on Saturday, the northern coast of Flores Island was violently jolted awake. Seismologists report that a staggering 7.7 magnitude earthquake ruptured the seafloor. The epicenter was located roughly 42 miles, 68 kilometers, northwest of the coastal city of Maumere, in the East Nusa Tenggara province. What makes this earthquake particularly destructive is how shallow it was. The tectonic fault line slipped at a depth of just 6 miles, 10 kilometers below the surface. In the world of seismology, a shallow quake of this extreme magnitude is a worst-case scenario. It means the seismic energy has very little time to dissipate before slamming into populated areas, resulting in incredibly violent surface shaking. And the scale of this seismic event is staggering. Officials estimate that over 500,000 people on Flores Island alone felt the violent shaking, with up to 1.5 million people across the broader region waking up to intense, terrifying tremors. Part 2. Pre-dawn panic and tsunami terror. As the earth violently shook, utter chaos consumed the island. Residents described apocalyptic scenes as they were thrown from their beds in the pitch black. Terrified families grabbed their children and sprinted out of their homes, desperately seeking open ground away from crumbling concrete and shattering glass. But the terror didn't end when the ground stopped shaking. Within minutes of the main rupture, Indonesia's Meteorological and Geophysical Agency issued a massive tsunami warning spanning several provinces, including West and East Nusa Tenggara, as well as South and Southeast Sulawesi. Emergency sirens wailed through the dark, and officials pleaded with coastal residents to run for their lives. The urgent directive was clear: get at least 1.5 miles, 2 kilometers inland, or climb to ground that is at least 33 feet, 10 meters above sea level. Whole communities fled into the steep, mountainous hillsides, huddling together in the dark and waiting for a wave they feared would wash their homes away. While the Australian Tsunami Warning Centre quickly confirmed there was no threat to the coast of Australia, the fear in Indonesia was palpable. Fortunately, after agonizing hours of monitoring sea levels, the tsunami warning was officially lifted, with monitoring stations reporting no significant anomalies. But the danger on the land was far from over.
Om Herman! Om Herman!
Part 3. The human toll and widespread destruction. As the sun rose over the archipelago, the true, heartbreaking scale of the disaster began to come into focus. The death toll is currently standing at 5 confirmed fatalities. Initially, authorities reported the tragic loss of a man and a woman near the port area of Momer. However, local governor Emmanuel Melquiades Lacalena later held a press conference to confirm that the death toll had risen, with 2 victims in the Sika Regency and 3 in the Manggarai Regency. Authorities are warning the public that this number is expected to rise. The infrastructure damage is incredibly severe, especially near the Maumere port, where structural collapses and massive cracks in the pavement have paralyzed the area. Video footage circulating on social media shows heartbreaking scenes of flattened structures, debris-filled streets, and dazed survivors wandering through the wreckage of their neighborhoods. The situation is so dire that the hospital in Maumere suffered critical structural damage. In an extraordinary display of medical dedication, doctors and nurses were forced to evacuate the entire facility, pushing beds and moving life-saving equipment out into the streets to treat the injured in makeshift, open-air triage centers. Part 4. A relentless barrage of aftershocks. If surviving a 7.7 earthquake wasn't traumatic enough, the Earth has refused to settle. The initial quake triggered a relentless and terrifying swarm of aftershocks. Within just 30 to 40 minutes of the main event, the region was hammered by at least 4 massive secondary quakes, measuring 5.9, 5.6, 6.1, and 5.5 on the Richter scale. By mid-morning, seismologists had recorded at least 7 major aftershocks. Geological agencies are pleading with the public to stay out of structurally compromised buildings, warning that these intense secondary tremors could continue for days or even weeks, bringing down buildings that barely survived the initial impact. Part 5. The topographical nightmare and rescue efforts. Right now, time is the enemy. Regional disaster management agencies have deployed search and rescue teams across the Sika and Manggarai regencies, but they are fighting an uphill battle against geography. Flores Island is known for its steep, mountainous, and volcanic terrain. The intense shaking has triggered massive landslides across the island, completely wiping out major roadways and severing communication lines to remote coastal and mountain villages. Rescuers are essentially flying blind, trying to reach isolated communities without knowing what they will find when they get there. Meanwhile, in the popular tourist hub of Labuan Bajo, local authorities have issued strict directives. Tourists, including a large number of foreign and American visitors, are being ordered to remain on high alert and strictly follow local evacuation protocols until the Earth fully stabilizes. Part 6. The Ghost of 1992 and the Ring of Fire. For the people of this region, today's disaster has reopened a deep, historical wound. It is impossible to talk about this earthquake without remembering the horror of December 1992. Almost exactly 34 years ago, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck just 37 miles, 60 kilometers, from today's epicenter. That quake generated a monstrous tsunami that completely obliterated coastal villages, wiping out tens of thousands of homes and killing over 2,500 people. It remains one of the deadliest natural disasters in Indonesia's modern history. The sheer panic felt this morning was fueled by the generational trauma of that devastating day. Unfortunately, this is the reality of living on the Ring of Fire, a massive horseshoe-shaped geological danger zone circling the Pacific Ocean. It is home to the world's most active fault lines and volcanoes. Indonesia, an archipelago of thousands of islands, sits directly on top of a highly volatile intersection of massive tectonic plates, making catastrophic seismic events an ever-present threat. Anchor outro. As night falls once again in Indonesia, the situation remains incredibly volatile. Search and rescue crews are working by flashlight, digging through the rubble, hoping to pull survivors from the debris. We will continue to monitor the situation closely. keeping a close eye on the rising casualty numbers and the ongoing threat of aftershocks. Our thoughts are with the people of Indonesia tonight. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more news after this short break.
Hey, tunggu kan. Tuh, udah. Kenalan nih. Lihat deh. Tuh, tidak ya, tidak mau. Tuh. Mari.
Ini taruh sini. Terus siapa?
Tuh. Udah. Naum.
Sini ke dong.
Kelang. Gimana jangan aneh